Here's a breakdown of all the things that will be changing for the F1 season in 2026, and it's looking pretty interesting and could actually lead to new results for a lot of teams. Now this video will be broken down to 3 different parts, so let's get straight to the first part. First, let's talk about the all-new power units and how the fueling will actually work. Now first, we will have a 50-50 split when it comes to the hybrid system, which means yes, 50% of the power will be coming from the engine and 50% will be coming from the electrical side of the F1 car, which is actually a big shift with the current setup of cars, which is currently 80-20 ratio, which one means yes, there will be more efficiency, and second, will mean that the cars will be a lot more greener compared to the current cars. Now second that will be found with the new power units is 100% sustainable fuel, which F1 has been working on for a long time to make fuel that is not only good for the environment, but is also more of a modified version of fuel, which will not only mean that F1 cars will be running on more sustainable fuel, but also means that we could actually get this sometime in the future in actual use, which is a nice little plus. And then of course there'll be an increase to electrical power, which currently by the time of recording for current cars is 120 kilowatts, and for next year in 2026 will be increased to 350 kilowatts, which means yes, there is going to be a big boost when it comes to the electrical side of the cars. And that's why there will be actually a 50-50 split when it comes to the next generation cars. But now let's go to car design and aerodynamics, which there is a lot of changes to the cars for the 2026 season. Now first of all, we will have lighter and smaller F1 cars for the 2026 season, which yes, the cars are going to be actually about 30 kilograms lighter for next year, which means the cars will actually be way more lighter on the circuit. And second, the cars are going to be decreasing a little bit with the size. In fact, there is a big margin that is different compared to the current generation compared to the next gen. Now next we'll have active aerodynamics. Now for many of you that do not know, DRS will unfortunately be removed, which is something that I kind of hate because we all love DRS. But that is going to be replaced with active aerodynamics, which means the following. It will be a system where front and rear wings can move to adjust downforce, which means it can actually still give them more of a boost, but it's not going to be the same as DRS. Now next, there will be 2 new manual overrides that the drivers can actually use, which is going to include Z mode and X mode. Now when it comes to Z mode, it will increase downforce for corners, while X mode will reduce drag for straight line speed, which means yes, the driver can actually adjust their speed in every scenario when it comes to each track by themselves, which I ultimately say is going to be very interesting to see how this will actually work, because of course this will be adding more workload to the drivers when it comes to their racing. And then finally we have one more thing, which is reduced downforce, which will actually be reduced by 30% to promote for closer racing for the 2026 season, which if it does promote more battles, that will actually be more entertaining to actually watch. So it'll actually be very interesting to see how drivers will actually react to having this new layout for the design and aerodynamics of their cars. And then finally, there are some other changes which are going to be very interesting to see that promotes more safety and of course introduces a new team. Now first we have enhanced safety, which yes, the cars will feature more robust structures and undergo more tests to make sure there's more safety for the drivers, which is of course a good thing to have because that will save drivers' lives. Then of course we'll have smaller tires, which the front tires will be 25mm narrower, and the rear tires will be also 3mm narrower, but the tires will remain at 18 inches. And then finally we will have a 11th team on the F1 grid, which will be including Cadillac, which is actually going to be very interesting to see how well this team will actually do. But as those are some of the main changes you should know as an F1 fan about the changes that will be happening for the next generation of F1 racing. But do let me know in the comments below what are your thoughts on these new changes and what are some of the things you hate that is being changed for the next season. But I hope you guys enjoyed. See you guys next one. Be safe as always and have a great day. Bye.